Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing the All About Book Titles book tag. I haven't done a book tag in the longest time, and I actually saw this over on Chaz's channel from the Bookish Chas, so I will link his channel down in the description box below. But I don't know, I just wanted to do a book tag. I thought it would be a lot of fun. So this one has to do with book titles. There are 9 prompts, and you have to pick a book that corresponds to the prompt. But before we go ahead and get on into the tag, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new content. I post new bookish videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. Prompt number 1 is a book with a one-word book title, and I'm going to go with Upgrade by Blake Crouch. This is an adult sci-fi thriller, and I read this book maybe last year. I actually read it with my husband, and we did a review together, so I will link that up in the cards if you want to check it out. But in this book, we are following a world of genetic engineering and a guy that has been engineered to a point where he is upgraded both physically and mentally than all other humans. And he has to kind of track down the reason why this is being done and how it's not so good for humanity. And it was a really fast-paced book. It incorporated a lot of interesting sci-fi concepts that I personally really enjoy, and I think definitely we will see in our real future, in our real world at some point. So definitely enjoyed it. Definitely check it out. Book number 2 is a title with a phrase in it, and I'm going to go with I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. Obviously, I, Robot is a phrase because there's no verb. And I do have a full book review for this also. I'll link that up in the cards. But this is a collection of, I want to say, short story vignette type things about this world where androids exist and robots do have a sort of sentience, and these robots have to adhere to these 3 rules of humanity. And I really liked this book because it was written decades ago, and the way that Isaac Asimov was able to address certain ideas and maybe societal implications that we might come across in the future as technology advances is definitely something that is still relevant today, especially with the emergence of AI and just the way that it is changing and being integrated into our world. I think that a lot of these ideas we can apply to 2023. So yeah, definitely recommend this one too if you are a fan of sci-fi. Prompt 3 is a book title that has a sentence in it, and I'm going to go with Bring Me Your Midnight by Rachel Griffin. This is a YA fantasy that I have not read, and I wanted to try and get to it at some point in the fall. I think I had it on my TBR for August or September, maybe July. I don't know, but I just did not get to it. I've never read anything by this author before. Ooh, bookmark came out. Never read anything by this author before, but Bring Me Your Midnight, yep, complete sentence, imperative sentence, we're good to go. Prompt number 4 is a book title with an unusual word in the title, and this one I really had to parse my shelves for because what word is considered unusual. But I'm gonna go with Fractal Noise by Christopher Paolini because I don't feel like the word fractal is used a lot in everyday life. In fact, I don't think I ever use it in everyday life, as well as books. Like, this is the only book I have with the word fractal in it, so I thought it was relevant. But this is the prequel to Sleep in a Sea of Stars, which I read, I think 2 or 3 years ago. Absolutely loved it, and I do have a full review for that, so I'll link that up in the cards for you guys. But this follows like a group of, as far as I know, haven't read it yet, but this follows a group of space explorers as they are going to this planet where the alien type substance of To Sleep in a Sea of Stars was found. And it's an alien type substance that is symbiotic, so it has like a relationship with a host type thing, and that's kind of what we follow in the other book. But this is the origin story of that. So I did want to try and get to it in 2023 just because I like the other book so much, and it's short, so hopefully I can get to it. Prompt number 5 is a book with a name in the title, and I'm going to go with The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. Obviously, we have Locke Lamora, who is the protagonist of this series. This is the Gentleman's Bastard series, and actually, this is one of my favorite fantasy series of all time, and I have no book reviews for these books. I read them at a time when I wasn't doing booktube. I think I read them at a time when I had taken a break from it many years ago, and I actually have attempted to read this book again, and I got halfway through and just had to stop. I was in graduate school, so just had to put it down, but I do want to finish rereading this at some point, and I got halfway through and I was still really enjoying it. But this is a fantasy world, and it's following a character who is a master con artist and a master thief. It is following a dual timeline type story where we have Locklamore's upbringing and who trained him, and then we have the current heist that they are trying to do on this very, very wealthy noble. And then we integrate some magical elements, very light magical elements into this world that have to do with Locke himself. And there's just a lot going on. But I just found like the way that the story was woven so, so clever, as well as the character relationships, because Locke is an orphan and all of the people in his crew are essentially orphans, and they were raised by, you know, this con artist leader named Father Chains, and just the dynamic of the group is just heart-wrenching at times. And the series is unfinished. The author, I don't know if he's ever going to finish it, but still the 3 books that are in the series are amazing if you haven't read them. Prompt 6 is a title with a made-up word in it, and believe it or not, I had a little bit of trouble with this one too, but I finally found one, and I'm going to go with Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is a YA fantasy series. I've read the whole series. I absolutely love it. I did a Why You Should Read a video for this, so I'll link that up in the cards, and I'm also in the middle of reading her spin-off series, which I'm also really enjoying. But Caraval is actually a carnival type experience, but it's more than that. You go to this island, and it is this elaborate show where you are part of the story. It's like interactive, and you have to not only have the carnival aspects, but kind of like solve these mystery type things. And it's very, very whimsical. And we're following 2 sisters as they go to this island, and one sister ends up getting kidnapped, and it is everybody's goal to try and find her. Very enjoyable and made up word and world. Prompt number 7 is a book title with a pun in it, and I could not find this at all. Like, I looked through all of my shelves, and I really couldn't find anything that resembled a pun, unfortunately. Prompt 8 is a book title that describes the book very well, and I'm going to go with The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. This is an adult thriller. I read this earlier in the year. Also have a review for this. I'll link it up in the cards. But I actually really enjoyed this, and when I was reading some of the reviews, a lot of people didn't like this book, but I actually ended up quite enjoying it. But we are following, she's kind of like a travel journalist, and she got invited to go on this cruise ship that goes through the Norwegian fjords, and it's a very small cruise ship. And on the first day, she could have sworn that she met, interacted, and talked to this woman in the cabin next to her, which is cabin 10. But everybody acts like no woman's in cabin 10, no one's there, no guest is supposed to be in that cabin, it's vacant. And our main character is like, no, I know there's a woman there. And then she thinks that the woman got murdered and was thrown overboard. So she goes on this whole like investigative type thing to try and figure out, you know, if she's actually crazy or if there was a woman there and she did get murdered and thrown overboard. But the really good thing about this book is Ruth Ware creates an unreliable narrator, because the narrator is very upfront about some of the mental illnesses that she has and the medication she's on. And, you know, she suffered from alcoholism at points. So the author just integrates those elements into the story to allow the reader to question whether the narrator is in her right mind. And it was very well done. So I quite enjoyed this, and I think that the title is like perfectly descriptive of what the book's about. It's about the woman in cabin 10, and was she actually there or not? And prompt 9 is a book title that doesn't describe the book very well, and I'm going to go with Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. This is book 2 of her Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, and I just feel like it has one of those abstract YA titles, YA fantasy titles, like Days of Blood and Starlight. I really don't even know what that means, and it really doesn't have a lot to do with the story. Okay, you guys, that was it for the book title challenge. It was a lot of fun. I haven't done a tag in a while, so it was cool to do. Let me know in the comments, guys, some of your responses to some of these prompts, or if you've read any of these books and what you thought about them, and I will see y'all in another video soon. Goodbye!